Taste of Dragons Gaming Podcast. We eat sandwiches and play games. Taste of Dragons Gaming Podcast. A podcast for everyone's taste.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Taste of Dragons, the Toddcast, the video game podcast that all you journalists listen to. And this week, it's another bonus episode.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So surprising.
Who put all these bonuses here?
I mean, if this was a company, I would be so happy. I know we've talked about this before, but I would be so happy.
Noted. We'll make sure it's on the record.
When we can make it big, this is what you're going to get as your bonuses.
Yeah,
We're
that's
just going to
exactly
give you
what it
these old episodes of the show.
Yes.
What
We
if
got you.
at your new job they were like, "Hey, we're gonna give you a bonus," and you're like, "Yes," and then it's just a recording of this podcast.
You better say you enjoy it. You better say it's worth it,
It's
Brian.
like, first of all, you're welcome. Second of all, I didn't tell any of you about this. But everyone, as always, my name is Brian.
My name is Troy.
Amanda.
I'm Lewis.
And I'm Joe.
Yeah, no Hassel this week, unfortunately. We had to do it on a different day, and it wasn't his fault this week.
We miss you again.
We do. But I would like to start us off with a question. So, if you guys had a dream job that you could do, don't have to worry about money. You know, maybe it pays you whatever it is that you need to get along. What would be a dream job that you guys would like? Like, what is it that you were like, this is it?
Damn, a dream job.
Yeah.
I would like to take B-roll for everything in life.
Nice.
Like everything.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. I just want to be filming B-roll all the time.
B-roll is fun.
Isn't
to
that just
film.
the Truman Show? Just a camera person for the Truman Show?
I could be that person. That could be me. I don't necessarily want to do it with an unsuspecting victim. I prefer to do
Consent.
it for... Yeah, exactly.
She doesn't want to shoot people or scenes.
Nope.
Just like silverware touching plates.
Yes.
And like cigarettes.
Are they? No cigarettes. That's not allowed. You can't be on anything if you're doing cigarettes. That's bad. I would really like to just film products in the background. Like if a cool scene is happening, I want to be that person who gets the B-roll of the focal point being blurred where the action's happening, but I'm behind like a TV slowly moving out so you can see that action's happening over there. Yeah, that's me. I want to be that guy, the cameraman for regular life, boring stuff.
I like it. I like it a lot. For myself, actually, I would love to just be one of the people that gives travel advice in Japan. Because A, I could live in Japan. And B, I could live in Japan. As an American, that's not easy to do.
Since this is a dream, it doesn't have to fall under any real life guidelines.
Correct.
I hope. Because I would love to be a cereal taster, but with like...
Okay, that could have gone a different way.
I really thought you were going to say stapler.
I thought you were going to say killer. And I was about to go, wow, this is a different side of Troy.
Lewis is like, no, that was mine.
I'm like prefacing it by being like, so like nothing bad can happen to me if I say this dream job. Right?
That's why I said it's a dream, right? It's a dream, wink, wink. Yeah.
Cereal killer. I just want to drink. I just want to eat cereal all day, every day, and also new cereal, weird cereal. Like let's test it out. Milkless cereal. I don't care. Let's try out all your space cereal. I want to know. I want to be the pioneer.
What is space cereal?
It's just like it's cereal, but without milk and dried.
Oh, all right.
Double dried.
Double tried.
I'm like, cereal's dry. So,
Yeah, it's like
Listen,
St. Arms.
I don't know, man. I'm waiting for someone to make it so I can taste it. I'm not the one coming up with the ideas.
what's your favorite cereal?
Honey Nut Cheerios
That's a good one.
and Rice Krispies.
Wow,
Those are both
two,
good.
like
Cinnamon Toast Crunch
original,
is pretty good.
Pretty simple cereals, but both really good.
I
I
like
mean-
cornflakes at times. Raisin Bran is better than people give it credit for.
They're not as good as Frosted Mini Wheats, but they're okay.
Okay,
they're
I
good
don't
cereals.
like Frosted
So you
Mini
don't
Wheats,
like
though.
candy cereal, is what you're saying?
Frosted Mini Wheats are candy. You take that back.
Okay, I
Close
meant
your-
everything
your-
he said.
Oh, okay.
I do like adding fruit
How
to my
dare you.
cereal, though.
Right,
To my
okay.
plain
Oh,
cereal.
you're that person. You're
You're
that
that-
person
you're
that's
that
part
guy.
of a balanced breakfast person.
I've become my father somehow. I don't know when this happened.
Like I've heard other people be like, "Oh, I love Cocoa Puffs, I love Captain Crunch, all these sugary
can
candy
get on board with that.
cereals,"
Yeah.
and you're like, "Honey Nut Cheerios, cornflakes."
I mean, Honey Nut Cheerios is pretty much candy.
Yeah, Cheerios are pretty good.
And
But Rice Krispies is probably my favorite. If I might redo
Yeah,
that.
and I will say I agree with you on the Raisin Bread. I'm not a huge raisin person personally.
Oh, God.
But Raisin
Oh,
Bran,
no.
the raisins themselves are just coated in sugar.
Yeah.
Which just makes it, for some reason, makes it okay.
Yeah, but there's the word bran in it.
I know.
I know.
I grew up thinking that Raisin Bran was like grandpa food or
Yes.
something, and I never tried it until like 3 years ago, and I was like, damn, this is actually really good. And it's one of the few cereals that I think gets better when it gets soggy.
Ew.
It's interesting.
I'm in like a really weird place. I don't eat cereal aside from Golden Grams. That's literally the only cereal
wow.
that I eat. And I will put a little bit of milk in it, but I don't really enjoy soggy cereal. I really eat everything dry. So like if I'm gonna eat Golden Grams, I just eat them dry.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. But like I can't imagine eating Raisin Bran already is like, oh God, no. And then you're gonna put milk in it and then you're gonna let it get soggy?
It's
Oh,
going to
God.
get soggy naturally. I'm
Okay,
not like
natural
purposefully
soggy.
doing
Oh,
it.
okay,
It's a
okay.
nice journey.
Okay.
This is a bit of a tangent, and I admit that. But when
Yeah.
I was in college, I had a lot of art classes, and I used to bring to art class with me a box of frosted mini wheats, and a
Nice.
Dr. Pepper, and that
Yes!
every
Whoa.
day that's what I had. I would just eat dry frosted mini wheats and a Dr. Pepper. And there was one day after class when my art teacher came up to me, and she's like, if you ever need money for lunch, I would be like, she thought
everything
that
okay at
I
home?
was financially unstable and couldn't buy lunch. And I was like, no, this is what I want.
I feel you just like yelled at her with like a mouthful of wheat. It was just like, I'm in college.
One, that's very kind of you. Two, no, I just have no nutritional value at this point.
So did you eat an entire box of Frosted Mini Wheats?
No, it's just that, oh no, it was worse. It was the same box that I kept in my car.
Oh, that's the best kind of cereal.
Because then it kind of heats up in your car a little bit. So
Yeah.
it's like a toasted
Yeah.
mini wheat.
Oh yeah. That's it.
And this was my
Clever.
truck, my truck that had bugs, so I'd have to like curl it up really tight to make sure the bugs.
Oh, I
didn't
remember
get
that
in
truck.
there.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Nice,
might
some
have been-
protein up in there.
There might have been more than one reason that she thought I couldn't afford lunch.
Yeah,
And she
maybe.
saw your lunch, then she saw you walk out to your car and be like, what?
Oh.
Oh, honey.
Oh, dear. Oh,
I'm
my.
not poor. My parents are just teaching me life lessons.
And those sometimes go hand in hand, you know?
Honestly, yeah.
I approve of your job, professional cereal taster.
I like
Yeah,
that.
it's a
That's
brilliant
good.
job.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Bring
Hey.
your weird cereal to me.
Some guy's job is professional ice cream taster, and he has a golden spoon.
Is that a real thing?
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
He has
What?
he has a golden tiny spoon because gold is naturally flavorless, so he can.
What?
So he's just getting.
Hold on. I need to go find some gold.
I'm like,
Toss it in my mouth.
whoa. I want a gold spoon.
Yeah. I didn't know gold was tasteless.
Yeah.
Sounds like a challenge to
Are
me.
you
Yeah.
gonna taste the cereal in the same way that people taste wine? Where you're gonna like swirl the cereal, hold it under your nose.
And then spit it out into a bucket,
Yeah, 'cause
which
you can't
just
swallow
chewed
it.
up cereal.
No,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
No, I think you take the golden spoon and you dip it in the milk, and then you like put the back of the spoon on your tongue for a moment. And, you're like, and then you go in for the scoop of the cereal, so you can understand what that did to the milk first.
Oh right,
all these
right,
methods are-
yeah.
All these methods are good.
all the above.
On a different note, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a writer. So my first instinct is to be like, man, I'd love to do that. But I don't like finishing things. So what I would love to be paid for is to work on projects for my own house. That I don't tell anybody about. So, like, people could just pay me to live my life the way that I want to without
good.
contributing to
Just
society. That
making
would
stuff
be
for
great.
yourself
Yeah.
and your well-being.
Yeah.
Call that art.
Yeah. I mean, people can have it after I'm done with it. After I'm sick of looking at it,
Like
and
5
then
to
I want
10
to get rid of
years
it. Yeah.
after each thing.
Yeah. I made a coffee table out of comic books once, like the decoupage thing.
Wow,
was cool.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
I kept it for like 3 years and then I gave it away. So,
damn,
if
that's really cool.
people should just buy the things that I normally give away for free, and they should pay enough money for it so that I can make new things.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's
It
what would
doesn't.
happen. But that's what would happen. It's your dream job. You're not going to have to worry about
Yep.
money. That's
Yep.
that's how you make the money. Boom.
Yep.
That's the dream.
That is the dream. I like it. And then Lewis, what you got? What you got?
Okay, so it kind of has to do kind of with what I'm trying to make my dream job already.
Nice.
But I want to be, because I feel like this person doesn't exist, a person that turns down bad Netflix ideas.
You want to be a producer?
Yeah, but I want to be specifically a person that turns down bad Netflix ideas because, again, I do not think that person exists.
So
I
you
think
want-
they
I
have
was
a,
about to ask you. I don't even. I don't know
I
about
think
this
they
job.
have a yes man and that's all they have.
Some people need bad TV, though, Lewis.
Yeah, but you know what? Some people don't need terrible TV, Amanda.
Okay.
Whoa.
I watched 3 seasons of Hemlock Grove. None of that was any good. But I don't take that time back. I think that they should be able to make bad TV, but maybe there should be like a Lewis list on Netflix, which is just the good stuff.
No, I want to
just
be
the bad
the person
stuff.
that turns down bad ideas.
Gosh, I don't know if I'm bored with Lewis's Netflix dictatorship over here.
I don't think there's ever a
Free
bad
the movies.
idea.
No, because there's some ideas that I think are bad, but not terrible. And I'm like, yeah,
Okay.
I enjoyed that. But then there's some ideas that I'm like, oh, so they're just saying yes to everything.
Explain
Oh,
the
they
bad
are.
idea.
I mean-
what are we talking about here?
Put it out
What are
there.
we
Let-
talking about here?
Give me a no. Give me a no.
Give you.
I want to make a movie. Okay, wait. I want to make a TV series. It's about flying Doges from outer space. They have big wings, but the
Yes.
wings can pop off of them so that they can look
Yeah.
like normal Doges, right?
Right.
And so these Doges also, their job is to be social media Doges, and they make memes all day long. So they're from outer space. They don't understand human culture, and they just make memes, and they make lots of money for their owners, and they have wings.
I would watch that.
What
You
is
said-
this story?
You said Doges. I mean,
said
like, that's
Doges.
an automatic yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I legit think this would be a children's cartoon.
I was about to say, I'm like, that sounds
Like,
like a children's
that-
cartoon.
that's-
yes.
Can we call it the social net bark?
Boom.
Boom.
Troy is my co-writer.
But again, I'm not the person that would say yes to it because it's a go. I would just be like, pass it to this person. They'll say yes.
So you would have said yes to that?
No.
No.
Again,
Oh, okay,
I
I'm so
only
confused.
want to be the person that says no to bad
This is clearly
ideas.
something someone should say no to.
He's only got a lever to the incinerator. He doesn't.
I don't approve it.
Yeah.
I
okay.
disapprove.
Yeah.
So basically,
Okay.
what they do is Lewis is going to be in a room off to like the right.
Yes.
So like the writers are going to come in, or whoever with the idea is going to come in, and they're like, "Ooh, we need to call Lewis in for this one." And then
Yes.
we're like, "Lewis, come on in." And Lewis walks in, and you just do like what, like an amazing, like how would you say no to somebody?
Well, no. So I think they would go into a regular room and they'd be like, actually, can you go into the next room and meet with our producer? He'll be able to talk to you more about this when they truly don't want to say yes.
Yeah.
So then I just say no to it. So they don't want to say no. I am the one that says no.
You just want to kill people's dreams for a living.
If they're terrible and they're dumb, yes.
But you would never say yes. So your sole job was to look at people in the face and tell them that their ideas are bad.
Because someone has to. And I don't think enough people do.
I'm not the hero that they need. I'm the hero that they deserve.
You
Because
know
I
what?
don't think enough people say no to terrible
I think
ideas.
you should just let the people decide. Put it out there. People let you know if they like it or not.
Incorrect.
What? I wholly disagree with that notion.
Correct. Have you seen Netflix? Have you seen what's on there?
Whoa. There's a bunch of brilliant K-dramas on there that I would never
but
tell
then there's
people to watch.
also a
but
lot
they're
of
great.
dumb stuff on there that everyone said
there's
yes
a lot
to.
of
Have you ever
things-
seen a K-drama? I literally just said what you said.
I
Yeah.
love K-dramas.
They're the best.
I enjoy K-dramas.
Lewis, who's going to employ all those best boys?
yeah.
Some
Yeah.
company has to do it. And sometimes there's got to be really bad stuff in order to have, key grip to have a job this month,
I'd rather have a free open Netflix than a very narrow one. And I think you're on the path to narrowism, sir.
No, see, because I approve bad ideas that are just enjoyable, but something that is not enjoyable and is also bad.
He
no
wants
one
to,
needs that.
He wants to
But
turn
that's
it
so
into
subjective.
Yeah, he wants to turn it into no flicks.
There are things that I just don't believe aren't enjoyable and are just terrible. You know what's terrible? It's not on Netflix. Maybe it is on Netflix. I'm not sure. Ruby. Ruby
What is
is
that?
The movie with-
RWBY.
RWBY.
Oh, I watched
Ruby.
2 seasons of that on YouTube.
It's
The
terrible.
first
comic
season
was great.
First season was fantastic.
Oh man, it's rough.
We should
I could talk to you on depth about that first season at least. And then a lot of stuff happened behind the scenes.
we should caveat this argument by saying that Troy and I don't believe in good or bad material. We
Correct.
think that it's all subjective. So
Yeah.
you saying that there are things that you want to turn down just flies in the face of our objective
Means-
value that everything is good.
means
so we
gobbledygook
do
to me.
realize
And I'm
that we
okay
have a
with that.
difference of perspective in this issue.
Yes.
Yes, as long as you know that. Because you guys see everything's good to
Right.
someone.
Right.
And it's like, I half agree. I don't wholly disagree. I half agree.
I like
We'll
how,
talk more later.
I like how you couldn't even be like, I half disagree. It's like, no, I half agree.
You should have just said no to that.
Yeah.
That would have been the end
I like-
cap. No.
No. End of podcast.
I like that answer. It was very honest.
Yeah, it was. It was very honest. All right, y'all. Well, let's jump into this week's episode. I guess some more, because it's just going to be us continually talking about a stream of consciousness. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on how we all get information from games. Like, like before there used to be like magazines, right? And then there was, websites, and then, all these other things. Now there's podcasts such as ours.
What are the various platforms through history that you've gotten like games and games news, industry games news from, whether it's about the game itself or about the people behind it?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, I'm just wondering, curious how all of us evolved in that way. Because I know some of us started very young. Some of us started a little bit later in life. So
I started classically. My first ever games news channel was my older brother.
Nice.
So he would just tell me things about video games because he could read and I could not. So.
And your brother can talk about games.
Yeah, my brother
You
knows.
sit down, he's going to talk to you
Yeah,
about
really?
games.
My
A wealth
brothers-
of knowledge.
My brother and Brian have a lot in common. Maybe one day we'll have him on the podcast. And then you can talk about video games that have a lot of mechanics and he can talk about video games that have a lot of mechanics.
And the
Nice.
rest of us can all just blink.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's like.
You'll be
But
able to hear it.
Yeah, I'll just say things that sound like mechanics, but it's just gobbledygook.
Lewis will be our hero that day.
But I feel like that's how a lot of people start is they have inspiration from family members that are kind of like, oh, this new game's coming out. And I was like, please tell me more.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. Because for myself, my dad was actually into video games originally. My dad and actually his relatives, like his brother-in-law and stuff like that. They were all into video games. And so I remember growing up when we had an Atari, but that was from my dad. We got to play it, but
Yeah.
it was my dad's.
right.
So yeah, I think that's where I initially got mine.
I would say word of mouth is probably the earliest form of information for games, and probably still for me the most effective form of gaining information about games is the word of mouth factor.
Your sister didn't play games, but you had friends who played games, right?
Yeah, I had a friend who definitely got a lot of the new games when the N64 came out. He got it day one, so Ocarina of Time and Super Mario 64. I got those through him, and then he would be like, "Let's go hang out," or he'll tell me about him at school or something like that. So in that way, yeah, he was just telling me his own personal experience firsthand.
Cool.
But you did magazines?
Yeah, I actually did
You
a
had
lot of
subscriptions?
magazines. Yeah, I had
How'd you
subscriptions.
get into that?
That actually was so. My dad and I, we would actually travel all around places. I used to be really heavily into trading cards and that type of
Cute.
stuff. And so was my brother. We were both into sports cards.
Cute.
So as we were out though, my mom would sometimes tag along. She wanted to go to I forget what it's called, but one of those bookstores. And then she wanted to look at the magazines. So I'd be over there and be like, oh, what's this?
Oh, yeah.
And I'd take a look at that wall of magazines that was just 3 rows up and 3 rows back as well, crazy amounts of magazines. And so I would just go there and I would just pick up a couple of them and just start flipping through.
You just unlocked a little memory of me doing something similar, either in a Walmart or something. And I don't know if I was looking at game guides or game magazines, but I do remember being like, oh, look, there's a Mario on a piece of paper bound together.
Yeah.
Mario on a
And
piece
glossy.
of paper.
I'm in the same place with the magazines. I used to read a lot of the different Game Informers and PC Gamer and a lot of those monthly magazines. I used to go to the bookstore and I would pick up 1 or 2 of them, but I would also sit there for hours and just kind of flip through a bunch of them too, just to make sure the one I was taking home had articles I really wanted to read. And then at some point in life, I think in my latter teenage years, I just started getting subscriptions to those magazines.
Nice.
I would go get the GameStop one. I would go, and I loved when GameStop gave them out. That was their thing. They just put it
With a subscription model
Yeah.
or something.
We had that for most of my life was the GameStop membership with the magazine. I think the only
That was with
I only stopped paying
Game
for that
Informer, right?
Yeah.
last year or the year before. I had it for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. Joe, your a story about Barnes and Nobles unlocked another memory in my brain because I didn't get those magazines. I didn't even know where to. Even if I were to try to get my parents to be like, "Hey, could we subscribe to something?" Mom's like, "I'm not giving our information out to anybody. Just freaking, they're just gonna mail it every month." Like, no, I don't trust that. I'm giving them my credit card. So what I would do is I would also go to Barnes and Nobles, but I would be that guy who reads the entire magazine. Sorry, I know you guys used to be in that business. I would be that a-hole who sits there and reads the entire magazine before I leave. Years later, I have a subscription, and I remember a friend of ours would like look at me like reading it, or I'd be at one of our rehearsals for our cosplay troupe reading it, and they were just like, "Troy, you read that so quickly, and you read it front to freaking back." And it was because I just trained myself to sit at that like cafe and just like, yeah, that was fun.
Wow. Well, I mean, I never read any gaming magazines. Never had any. Growing up, like the only relative of mine that played video games that was older than me was my cousin, and he really wasn't getting news of video games or anything like that. In fact, I was the person always looking for new video games. By going into a GameStop or Hollywood Video or a Blockbuster and seeing what games were there that week, what I hadn't seen, what I did see. Never read any magazines, and it wasn't until probably maybe undergrad where I started to look at game news, and that was
what year about? Was
2011.
This? Oh, okay. We're not there yet. 2011. We're still in the late 90s here. Hold on. I'm going to get back to that, yeah.
Before we move on, I just realized that print is a really strange medium for video games. I know that this was like not necessarily pre-internet, but very early internet. So the idea of getting your news like digitally was different, and there was definitely not going to put it on the television. No. But the idea of learning about a video game from a single picture, or maybe if you're lucky, like 2 pictures of that video game and a description, is insane. Yeah. Like the idea that it's like, this is a game I might play, and this is the only information that I will get about what this game is like. Like if I think about how I purchase games now, it was like that I would not buy that game no matter what it said.
I think that's why brands were so strong and are still strong, because for me, like, yes, I learned about Donkey Kong from my friend, and then my parents bought it for me. But after that, I didn't know there was a Donkey Kong 2 or 3 until like Thanksgiving rolled around, and my mom was like, "Okay, here's the Christmas like shopping magazine thing,"
Oh, those
and then
are so
I would
great.
flip to the game sales, and then I would see Donkey Kong 2. Look at her, and I'm like, that right there. But because I'm into the franchise, I don't need to know anything else about it. I just know it's the next one.
You didn't know if there was new mechanics.
Nope.
You didn't know if
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
I agree. Yeah, that's how it was. So back to like the magazine rack, I would if I liked a magazine, my mom would be like, "Hey, rip out the little insert and we'll get a subscription to it."
Oh, okay.
Like my mom was very actually forward with wanting me to read. It didn't matter what it was.
Could your mom talk to my mom about that? Because like that's a really good in. I didn't think about that.
So like, yeah, she would just be like, "Hey, make sure you take the insert, and maybe we'll fill it out when we get home." So I think a couple of times I had like 3 or 4 magazine subscriptions at once to different ones, and they were all really fun.
My parents liked that I liked to read, but my mom was just like Troy's mom with I'm not going to give them my information, which is why I had to do it myself. And I wouldn't do it with my own card because my mom had made me paranoid about that part of it. So I would always go into the place to actually pay for the subscription wherever it was. And a lot of places back then would let you pay for those things at the store, and it would just be part of the stores sending it out to you. So I did that for a long ass time too.
Nice.
What magazines? Can you like name some of the ones off that you used to read? And anybody here?
Just Game Informer.
Game Informer. That's me too. The main one for me.
PlayStation.
did
PlayStation.
Yeah.
This is PlayStation Magazine.
I think it was just PlayStation.
Oh, that's
magazine.
the one that came with the demos.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had
that
that
one. Where is it?
PC Gamer. That
PC
one.
Gamer was
that
a
one
good
had a lot.
Yep. I did that. I did both of those. I also did EGM, which
I
was
didn't do
Electronic Gaming
EGM.
Monthly.
I didn't do that one.
And then I also
EGM.
did Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Nice,
And then I also did Nintendo Power.
Oh,
yeah.
we had
Yeah.
Nintendo Power.
Yeah.
too.
I was always envious. I would read my friend's Nintendo Power
Nice.
when it would come in. What did you all do with these magazines? Do you know?
I
Do you know where they are these days?
They were my brothers, so I don't know. He would leave them in the kitchen, then I would read them. Because I
Gotcha.
wasn't, we weren't good at sharing, so I definitely had to like sneak and read it. This does not belong to me. He paid for this. I did not.
I think I still have a pretty good amount of them at my parents' house.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I used to keep a bunch of them.
I probably have a stack of the Japanese ones I had because I
Oh,
used to
yeah.
read New Type and I used to read a couple of different magazines.
New Type?
A New Type was an anime magazine, but half of it was all dedicated to video games as well, since the character designs were the same. So I have a ton of Japanese magazines that I had gotten from just different places, my work, all sorts of places. But I have all of those still. I only have a few of the other ones like Nintendo Powers and PC Gamer and
I'm sure some of them are collector's items these days.
probably. I probably wouldn't do anything with them. They're probably still just going to sit in a box because I'm lazy.
I always thought I would take the covers of the Game Informers because they're always really like nice and artistic, and
Yeah.
like make a collage out of them, or like I don't know, a
Something.
wallpaper. I don't know what I was gonna do, but they ended up not going anywhere, or doing anything. So I think
They're
we
in
ended
the
up
attic.
getting. They're still in the attic.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right,
Do you remember when I was like, "Hey, hun, do you want to keep these?" And you were like, "Yes."
I have a project in mind.
He'll do the project one day. One day.
Probably just gonna be taking it to Goodwill or giving it to you all
Yep.
if you want them.
They're so heavy. A box of
Yeah.
magazines is so heavy.
They are.
Oh, they
really
are.
They
They
dense.
are.
Who would have thought solid paper is just heavy, you know? It's like carrying a tree.
Did you all, like myself, I did end up transitioning, like you mentioned, Lewis, from like physical paper game magazines to online stuff. What was the transition like for you all?
It was pretty kind of smooth because they still, I mean, up until like the late 2000s, they still had a lot of exclusive content that was just in magazines that you wouldn't even find out, or anybody else would find out even on the websites until that magazine came out, and then other websites would scoop that magazine. So I still actually I didn't have subscriptions, but I did still pick up magazines.
When it came to like you trying to figure out new things about a game or whatever, did you go to magazines first, or did you start going online to look to find those things? Or like how did that area work for you? Were you doing half and half, or for anybody?
Yeah.
I had the magazine phase, and then when I moved out of my parents' house to live by myself, I definitely had like several years of just nothing, where I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Which I think is why I enjoy video games so much, because I would just go into GameStop and then I would look at like their discount bin and just be like, "This looks fun," and
Know
I'll take
nothing
one
about
of
it.
these, instead of being like, "Oh, because I've seen like in the magazine, I'm
Right.
like, this is the next big thing that's coming out that I'm looking forward to." I didn't have that, so it was just like, I'm gonna get these three. One of them's not gonna suck. And sometimes you'd find like really great stuff.
I totally did the same thing, Mandy. And you're right. Sometimes you find gems in there that you would never have played, and no one would have told you to play otherwise.
That's why I like Spider so much.
Oh,
That was one of my
publisher?
discount. Like
Oh,
it was
yeah,
like
that's right.
$5. Yeah.
Yeah, those are all the games that Lewis would say no to in Netflix.
Obviously. I mean, no, you know what?
Lewis out here.
Some of them I wouldn't have blamed you.
There are some weird games I've played that I love. I don't even remember the names of them, but I love some weird games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
true.
interesting because, especially because the medium of games, there's some terrible ideas that are actually fun to have in your hand and to control the action.
Yep.
Whereas there's some other games where it's just like, this sounds great. And then as soon as you have like a controller and you're like, oh, this would be a better movie. Or, you know.
And just buying stuff out of the bargain bin for $5. One, it was $5, so how disappointed could I be? And
Right.
also, I didn't have any hype. So I didn't like wait 6
Sure.
months for a game to finally come out to buy it day of for it to be broken.
Yeah,
It was just
right.
like, well, one, it's probably not broken because if it's been in the discount bin, it's probably been out for a while. And two, it's like I didn't have any expectations for it. So that was also really nice. Now they say all these things out loud, not to dig on video game news.
Yeah. Oh no, but that's a way to get video game news because
Well, it was a lack of news.
lack of news. But I mean, that's still like still got information from just buying games. You're like, hey,
Right.
instead of paying $5 for a magazine to find out about stuff, I'm just going to pay $5 and see if a game's good.
You were practical out there on the scene.
And then it was brand identification. It was now that I've played this game, what other games did that person make? Are there any sequels to this? Is this
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes I buy the third game in a series and not realize it, and then go, oh, let me go back and play
Or
the other ones.
the type of game. It's like, oh, this was a farming sim. I've never done that
Right,
before. I'll get
right.
some more of these.
Yeah, especially, I think nowadays box art doesn't matter as much. Whereas back
Yeah.
in the 90s, earlier than that, I think even until the mid 2000s, if the box looked good and the screenshots on the back looked okay, I would pick it up.
Right.
I've done that with many a games where it's just
Same.
like, because there's so many games coming out, there's no way to know about all of them. So it's
Right.
just like, oh, cool, this looks interesting, and then you put it into your system. It's like, it looks nothing like this. Those were all cutscenes.
You got me. You got me.
But yeah, that's another thing that has evolved is the art form of the video games as well, and it's real interesting.
It's cool to watch.
Yeah.
Definitely cool to
For
watch.
me, up until I think it was literally last year, if I liked the art style of something, I would pick it up and I would play it. And then Windbound happened, and I will never do that again.
Gotcha.
I'm still a sucker for art, though.
You know what? They'll get me to look at it, but if I hear the words survival game, it's almost an immediate like, oh, I'm not doing that.
Oh, yeah,
have
there are definitely
PTSD.
some times.
Yeah, I Windbound is such a. Oh, I have nothing nice to say. I'm
She
not gonna say
hate
anything.
played that.
I did.
It was amazing.
I was so angry. It's like, I'm going to platinum this game and I'm never going to look at it again. And I didn't because it's awful. But I think for me, a good amount of the box art, that worked real well on me. If something looked stylistically like something I would like, they got my 60 or 50 or bucks or whatever it was. And even if I didn't like it, I finished playing it because you can't do that often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like, do you guys remember being at like Toys R Us and seeing the wall of paper that was the games, and then you had to take a slip and bring it
Yes.
out front, and
Oh,
then
I think I
and
missed
they would
this.
take the games out from the back.
For a while, people were, it was
They-
too easy to pick them up and take them out of the store. So a lot of stores, not just Toys R Us, a lot of them changed to this ticket system where they would have the game box sitting out.
Yes.
Not
And
even
a
the
whole
game,
lot.
not even the game box. It would just be like the printout of the game.
Right. I think I missed that at Toys R Us, but the game box method, I
I
definitely
saw that
most of.
GameStop did that at some point. That they also some of them did have like just a
still
solid
do that now.
a solid
Yeah.
paper.
Oh, yeah.
And you bring that up, and then they give you a game. And also, they do the empty box thing.
Yeah, we didn't go to Toys R Us a lot, but we went to Blockbuster a lot.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
an empty game case to
Yeah.
do the
Yeah.
game. That was also another way to like, I may buy this, but let me.
That's how I found
demo
out
it.
about new games. Like, oh, look at this game. I didn't see this before. Let me try it.
How did we not talk about Blockbuster when we talked about demos?
Oh yeah, you're
Oh
right.
my gosh, yeah.
That's
the-
essentially a
king
that's
of the
a demo.
demos there.
That's essentially a demo. It's like $5. I can play this for a whole week.
Well, as long as you return it on time, my man. You
Yeah.
gotta return it on time. Otherwise, that's going to cost you just as much as the game.
Yep, I know. I found out I had something due about I want to say like 8 years ago. I got like a fee from Hollywood Video, a thing that no longer exists, saying, "Yeah, you owe us $80 from a game you didn't return." It's like, but you don't exist anymore.
Because of you,
What are you gonna
Lewis.
do?
I'm like, what are you gonna
What are
do?
you gonna do?
You owe them.
Figment of my imagination.
You owe them Figment money.
Yeah, I'm like, I can give you Monopoly money. Someone has a game.
That seems like a good scheme. That definitely sounds like a con.
For sure. I mean, I know I owed it, but for sure. It seems like
The Blockbuster games for me were, I guess, I don't think they were demos because like I didn't get a lot of games like growing up or whatever. So like those were my games. Like that was the entire experience. There was no like, oh, I'll play this, I like it, and I'll get it. There was no getting any of the games.
So
that
yeah, I
got.
didn't get them, but I played them, beat them. And sometimes if I didn't get to beat it within that week and I loved it so much, then if I was lucky, I might get it for Christmas or a birthday.
Did you guys ever rent the same game more than once?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was great. Is when you rented it so many times that
Yep.
you're like, one more time, and I should have just bought it.
Should've just bought
Like,
it.
yeah, I paid for the game.
And speaking of Blockbuster, they used to have the TVs with all like the promotions going on. Like they still
Oh,
do it in
yeah.
like GameStop and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Did you guys ever like see something that was on that TV and would like make you stop and actually watch it and see maybe?
Oh yeah, they got me plenty of times. In fact, heck, almost any of those Attack the Show like G4 level type things like I would sit there and stare at those things for however long they were on usually because that was how I would consume some new stuff. I like Manda at some point stopped reading the magazines I was getting or I wasn't getting them anymore, and then I wasn't really looking at the internet so much for it either. So it was just kind of like the only time I ever heard about news was when I had friends that bought a new game that were like, "Oh my gosh, this game's awesome! You got to try it," and then I'd try it and I'd buy the game. Or I was already the person with the DS that bought like every game there was that was like silly anyway. And then there was those great things at GameStop and those great things like in the middle of the Targets and all the different places that had like, here's your video game stuff. And all of the displays, the demo displays in the stores usually had ads
Yeah.
playing on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big thing because my mom loved shopping and she would take me with her all the time. So getting to go to those places in Target or whatever where I could try those games out, I probably didn't realize it, but it's probably where I learned the most about video games is just being stuck in that entertainment center while she's running around.
No, I mean, my mom would go to the mall all the time. I would go immediately. I'm like, can I go to GameStop? And I would go right to GameStop
Just
and
look at the games,
I would
play them.
look at the games, see what's on the TV, new games coming out, and they would have like a display for a new game and see a demo for the new game coming out, and that's how I would learn about most games. I never read magazines, and again, like I said, until like 2011, I didn't start trying to look for actively look for stuff, and even now I only read like headline articles. And then I also just literally sometimes just type in trailers for this year, new games.
There's so many games now. It's
Yeah.
hard to keep up. It's not like I don't know, like even 10 years ago where you could be like everything coming out in 2021. Tell me what's here.
Yeah,
It's
and-
like you look at trailers and you could look at trailers every day and there'd be 20 new trailers.
Yeah, and now I honestly look for just developers that I love. Just
Yeah.
like I look for authors that I love for books or comics. I look for the developers that I love. What games are they working on? Are they working on anything? Have they released any announcement?
Yeah, that's a nice boon of where you can get with the internet now,
Yeah.
which is nice.
I think E3 is the thing that pulled me back in.
Oh, yeah?
Is starting to watch E3 again because it was that was probably after Troy and I started dating or right before. Is like that's like the video game Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
it was like I went from like just being the person to find something on the shelf that I like to being like, oh no, I do really want to see all these video game previews. And then that kind of slowly pulled me back.
Yeah.
Like, especially this friend group that we all have.
Yeah.
We did kind of treat it like the Super Bowl. We would just be like, hey, listen, this conference is going on this time. You guys all want to hang out? We'll watch it together. We'll do this,
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun, especially with this friend group. It's pretty interesting. And I'm sure there's lots of friend groups out there that are like that.
Yeah, this friend group is the one that started me on E3.
Yeah.
I never watched it before him. Never heard. I only saw the news afterwards when like there was just articles and stuff. And also now Instagram has a lot of posts for their new games and articles for the companies that like write them. So I get a lot of news through that as well.
Oh yeah, following publishers and developers,
Yep.
like they post all the
Oh,
time,
yeah.
which is kind of I think why E3 pulled me in because you'd see something on E3 and then you'd be like, oh, is there any news on that? And then you'd start following that, and then that
Exactly.
would pull you into like, oh no, I have to follow their Instagram and their Twitter and their
Yeah.
TikTok and their Facebook. Back when Facebook was a thing.
It still kind of is. Hey, listen, don't
Yeah.
don't knock it. I
Yeah.
mean, you can, but don't knock it.
I mean, you're the one that just said that on the internet.
yeah, you're right. You got me.
I do think social media plays a big part of how I get my news now. I
Yeah,
definitely
sure.
think that everything changed immensely when we started podcasting. Because for me, I didn't really look at developers. I didn't look at who made games. It literally had to do with the style and if it was Nintendo. Like really, there's not a whole heck of a lot. Like if I liked the way the game looked, I didn't pay attention to who made that game and if they made games like it. But I would probably be able to go, oh, it's the guys that made that because it looks like that other game. It looks like that other game. It looks like that other game. So I mean, like I love Monkey Island. I will play everything they do because I love the style of that game. I love the humor of the game.
Yeah.
I had no idea who made it until we were podcasting probably. Like I had no idea. So now now I'm far more into which developer does what because they do tend to make games I like. So it's a much better bet. Even if I don't like the art style, I'll probably like the game though. So I do think social media, huge difference in everything.
Definitely.
It's also made indie developers more interesting for me. Is like I definitely had played like indie games before, but they were always like one-offs in the same way that I was like, oh, I found a case that I liked and I'm just gonna try $5. But like proactively looking at the new indies that are coming out and the same way of like following a developer that made a game that you like has definitely drawn me into content that I definitely wouldn't have played before. It's like this game is just one of 5 million games on Steam, and if I was browsing, I never would have come across it. But like knowing that the same person who made this game also made these 3 other ones, it's like, oh, I'm more likely to like a Toge Productions game. Like I follow them, so when something new comes out, I'm going to pick it up.
Right.
Yeah, and especially with indie developers nowadays, whereas before, like you said, you liked Spider games, you liked those types of developers, but who knows? Maybe somebody left that actually was an integral part of
Yeah.
that. but it's still the same company. You have no idea. Whereas with indie studios, it's like there's 3 of us. One of us left. We're just gonna shutter. Like, or it's one dude, and I obviously I know I'm gonna like their next game, or at least their thought process behind it.
But that's also a fun part about doing the news is like I follow this video game studio, and then I heard that this branch broke off and they made their own studio, so I'm gonna follow that studio, and then this guy left and he works over here now, so I have to follow that studio because like I loved his writing and this art style and that studio, so you buy more games is what I'm saying.
Yeah. You spend more money.
And that's how they get you. Like Troy was talking about how it evolved from magazines into websites, And so I think that's how a lot of people get their news nowadays. It's through websites. I mean, and then there was a good chunk of time where G4 TV, a lot of people got their news on there, either through Attack of the Show or Split Screen or all these other types of things that were going on there. And I think that was a very small, like for a small...
It was a short
small
amount
period
of time.
That's right.
Yeah.
A small period of time.
Because I feel like that melded itself into social media and YouTube.
Yes.
Because for
sure.
me, the way you follow, the way Amanda follows developers, that's how I follow game news on YouTube. Because I have like at least 2 different commentators that do game reviews, that do gaming news, and I listen to probably 4 of them every single day because there's some of them that put out stuff every day. There's 1 or 2 of them that put things out once a week, and then other guys who just intermittently. And I really love hearing different opinions about everything or different ways to get the news because you never know. Like everybody has their own take on everything, so I just like to hear a lot of it. And I love video game news on YouTube because they're popping up the video that goes with it, some trailer parts of it. They're telling you which studio did it. It's nice having so many different things all in one place, and then a lot of the guys will guest on each other's shows, so then I'll find new shows I can listen to and then other things to listen to. It's fun.
Yeah, and with the TV, you still got it quicker than you did with print form because TV
yeah.
would still be like a couple of days behind, if not a week behind, of news. And so that was still quicker than print. And then once websites becoming like a thing and they started getting the exclusives, it was like, oh, this is happening now.
Yeah, like real time.
This is now. And there was a show on G4 that was called, I think it was called Game Trailers. And all it was a half an hour of just showing you game trailers. Like there was no like explanations in between. It was just back-to-back game trailers. And I loved watching that.
I feel like TV's coming back around though in a really interesting way. Like Troy and I went to a sports bar the other day and they were showing esports. So
That's
I feel
so cool.
like I don't know if we're gonna get like a news channel for video game news. I don't know if it'll ever be that prevalent, especially because cable's kind of like on the outs in a weird way.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested to see if there wasn't a future where there's like a video game channel, but it's for sports with advertisements for video games.
Disney already has that right now. They have a whole channel where they just stream Twitch streamers. And it's not even they're
Oh,
not
yeah, they
streaming.
do.
It's
Yeah.
just like a mashup of a bunch of streamers back to back.
Really?
Yeah,
just
they do.
playing video games as like a half an hour block, like a show.
Yeah, I remember I accidentally kind of came upon one of those. There was like a Disney thing. It was Disney. I was like, oh, cool, Disney. And then there was this kid streaming. And I just thought, am I watching this kid stream? And there's like a bunch of graphics all over
It's
the
all
screen.
canned footage.
It's like weird stuff he's doing, but like it's like almost like fully produced of this kid just streaming.
It's like those Disney, I don't say infomercials, but like between the commercials where Disney's advertising for their own channel on their channel, but now it's that personality on top of a Twitch stream.
Yeah,
So it's like,
pretty
I'm
much.
going to throw water balloons at you, but obviously all of this is staged, but now it's on top of a Twitch stream, which is fine. I think
Yeah, it was
Someone had a meeting at Disney and was just
Interesting.
like, do that thing that the kids are watching because we're Disney. I don't know. I don't care.
I was
Put
very
Fortnite
surprised.
on there.
I was like, wow, people are watching this.
Yeah.
But they got like Fortnite and Minecraft and stuff.
I mean, that's what they were playing. They were playing Fortnite.
So
Yeah.
I think a very fascinating thing about information, especially when it involves the arts, whether it's video games or movies, is I think at some point for yourself, that information starts turning into entertainment as well. And for me, that transition was in the early 2000s when I was transitioning from doing the magazine news coverage to online. I used to play a lot of Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2 and loved it, arcades. And the only way to find like all the moves on there, because you can't just ask people because they're mean at arcades. And they don't want you to win. They don't want to help you at arcades.
No, they do not.
You are correct.
I found a website called GameFAQs, FAQ. And I would go on there and it would just have all the moves for all the characters I want to learn. And I would just study it after school. Just go and study every single move for that. that site was owned by a company who also owned GameSpot. So every time I went to GameFAQs, I would see a little like link or something like, hey, you like Marvel vs. Capcom? Check out this video about it or whatever. And I ignored it for probably years because I'm just like, no, I just need to know down, left, right, damn it. And then eventually I think it must have been some type of like Final Fantasy thing that got me, but I clicked on it, a new Final Fantasy is coming out, and my world just exploded. There was all this information about these games that I had liked on my own, but now there was a community. There was people, there were threads, there were opinions, there were videos. And I quickly switched from it being like, just tell me when the next game comes out to, I want to see people play this. I want to see people talk about this. I want to hear some podcasts. I want to hear whatever. And I think that marriage of information and entertainment, someone put those words together. I don't know.
I like it.
Infotainment.
Yeah, it's
Infotainment.
Yeah.
I think that is what draws me to continue coming to continue trying to engage in getting information from games.
You just set fireworks off in my brain when you brought up GameFAQs. I had completely forgotten about GameFAQs. I needed that because I played Japanese games and I couldn't read the menu system. And fighting games, like nothing crazy. There's no way I was playing something like an RPG in Japanese. But like a fighting game, they would have so many different menus and how to do certain things. And I genuinely couldn't figure it out at that point in life. And I used GameFAQs like religiously to get through there's certain games that I couldn't. And I think I probably still have some of them printed out. So I would just leave them next to the TV so that when friends would come over and we would all want to play this game, I'd be like, it's the third one. It's the one in green. It's the one with the... That way, like, you could easily just take it out and be like, oh, this is the first menu. Okay, if you chose this option, it went to here. If you chose this option, it went to there. Yeah. And, like, GameFAQs was awesome.
Yeah, I remember printing out sheets and then taking it to school and, like, having it in my book. Like my math book. Like, yes, Pythagorean's theorem is AB, down, up.
Garrett, don't forget to hit start. It's not going to work.
For a moment, I actually thought you were going to say Pythagorean's theorem, and I was like, "Oh yeah, a squared plus b squared equals c squared." Yeah, and then you didn't. It was like, "No, that's not."
He got you, Joe. He got you. And with the prevalence of all this news, though, with all the websites and everything, it's whereas before it was mainly about finding out the behind the scenes stuff, what's coming out, the actual information. And I think nowadays, as Troy said earlier, it's about the entertainment of it. Like, yeah, I could get this almost anywhere, even if this is an exclusive, another site's going to have this within like 2 hours. They're going to be reporting on it. So it's now about, well, what journalists do I like? What specific people do I like going back to? What's the personality I like that goes with this?
Do I want information? Do I want humor? Or do I want someone that's just something?
The internet.
Yes. Or do you want all three of those combined and have the perfect union and everything is as balanced as it should be?
There is something that's fairly new to the last few years, which is the video game documentaries, which we weren't really getting before. Is like the not just the behind the scenes of like, hey, this game's going to come out in August, but like, hey, let us show you everything we've done throughout making these so that you can better understand the industry and like why things happen or like why we make decisions or how we come together to make this beautiful product.
There's a YouTube series called No Clip, which is by Danny O'Dwyer, a journalist, and it's just really in depth and really intentional with and very thoughtful with how they go about it. And I think that was the switch that I then have more recently made, Mandy, is I went from like just information to information and entertainment. Like, give me some laughs. And now I think as we started learning more, I've switched into like genuinely caring about the industry, which is entertainment in its own way, but it's now more of like a personal passion to recognize the people behind the games, which I didn't have in my information tube before then.
Yeah. Between the Double Fine documentary and the Netflix series that have come out, it's been nice to go. Not only do I enjoy video games, but like understanding how they're made. Sometimes things will happen and then I won't be angry anymore because I was like, oh no, I get why they probably made that choice. Or like, obviously I couldn't stand and code my own game, but I probably know enough to be okay with choices now. It's like, oh, it's not voice acted. That's because voice acting is really expensive and they sell it globally. Like they have to they have to translate all of that. So I get like some decisions now.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating and cool getting to learn all those things these days.
Yeah.
And then play the game in that context, or play the game and then get that context. It makes it such a richer experience, in my opinion.
We didn't even talk about playing video games with the context of how they were developed in the background, like knowing that something bad happened to the company and they pushed through it, or knowing that it's based on a person who actually passed away, or like they struggle, and it's like seeing like how that affected real people. and then playing
Retroactively
it.
knowing why Super Mario 2 is different than the other ones
Oh
for
yeah,
America,
yeah.
and
Doki Doki Parent.
seeing that whole story unfold is like it's awesome.
Yeah, and if there was one magazine, I forget what it was, I forget which exact one it was, but they always had like a post-mortem where they would have a interview with one of the developers or the team. It was like 6 months after a game release, and they'd ask them, hey, what did you guys learn from this? And so I loved reading that because I got so much more information about that specific game. And it wasn't just about the development of it, it was what they learned afterwards as well, where it's like, oh, we thought this would sell a lot better, or oh, we didn't know that this was going to sell as much as it did. And it was very interesting reading that in print form, and this was early 2000s, I think. I forget which magazine it was. And now they're just doing that nowadays in general with everything, both while it's happening, afterwards it's happening. You can go back and watch GDC, which is a game developer conference, and developers are giving presentations to other developers about what they learned while developing this thing. Like coders are talking to other coders, and so they're just talking their language. And even if you don't understand everything, it's interesting, like just seeing, wow, there's a lot that went into this, and how they did this one very specific thing took them like 3 months that you would never assume would take that long.
Definitely gives you a deeper appreciation for the art form.
Instead of being like, why don't my inventory items stack? Like, it just makes so much sense. Knowing that it's like, oh, the thing that I think is very simple may take months and months to code, and the game had to really so like just understanding some of the basics of that, or
it's like knowing
understanding that I don't know what it would take to do the thing that I want you to do kind of helps you have
For sure.
patience.
I'm still probably going to say those things like, why don't they
yeah.
do this dumb thing? It's super simple. Even if I do know, I will probably instinctually say that when I can't do that stupid thing. Like, why am I shooting a horse when I'm trying to take out a gun?
I mean, it doesn't excuse everything. It's not like blanket statement, everything is great, but it does help you have like maybe they'll get around to it, or like I understand why as soon as I see something wrong, it isn't instantly fixed.
You would think it would help us understand cyberpunk and be understanding of that, but it doesn't.
Actually, it does.
I appreciate delays
I appreciate
so much
delays.
more now.
That's
I
what it's
have
done.
nothing but absolute respect for developers and coders and producers of the games, because every time something is broken in a game, I think to myself, I would have been okay with waiting for this a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Right.
But your shareholders were not okay with that.
Yeah.
And it makes me so sad, because you don't want to put out a game that no one's going to like.
Yeah.
And Cyberpunk is an exact, like the literal
Proof.
shining
it's
proof of they didn't want to put this out yet. It
not
wasn't
a
ready.
bad game.
No, I don't doubt that it is. I just think, man, they should have done at least a good delay, a good long
did.
delay.
They did.
It was
And
delayed for
another
like a
one,
year and a
yeah,
half.
exactly.
Another one.
Like I think about what is it, Kina coming out, and I was really stoked about it. It was coming out at the end of this month, and I just heard a day or two ago that it was delayed, and I was like really bummed about it because it had already been delayed twice now, and I was like, man, I really want to play this game. It looks so nice, but then hearing the developer actually say there are just some things that are not polished enough, and we don't want to put the game out if you're not going to enjoy playing it. That's what the developer actually said, and I was like, thank you. You know what? I
exactly.
can wait a month. I
That
can wait 2
Yeah.
months. Thank you for not giving me something that I may not enjoy. So then I'm going to be like, great, I just paid $40 for a game I'm not really having that much fun with.
Yeah.
All because of polish.
And to be honest, expecting something to come out, like I'm always really sus when they give you a release date and it's still in like pre-alpha
Right?
or something
Yeah.
like that. And I was like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Because we expect two very different things from video games. We expect them to be released on time, and we expect them to be innovative and fun. And those two things just don't work together. I need you to do something you've never done before, and I need you to tell me exactly when you're going to be done with it. It's like, well, I don't know. I haven't done it before. And it's like, well, yeah, but you have to release it at this time. So I feel like watching stuff like documentaries help me understand better, like, hey, I'm not going to buy the video game if it's the same exact video game. I need you to do something different. And if I expect that, I have to be patient enough to realize that maybe you finish it and then realize you have a new problem you never thought you would have, and it's going to take longer.
Like now when I hear the news of something being delayed, I don't even get upset anymore. I go, awesome.
Especially if it's
Great.
delayed to avoid crunch.
Yeah, I'm like, great, thank you.
Yeah, I hope that narrative is changing more and more.
We could
For
do a
sure.
whole podcast on delays.
Like because
Maybe we'll
I'm,
delay it. We'll do it later.
Okay.
Maybe next year.
I'm,
Well, we have some more prep work to do.
I'm stuck in the Red Dead world right now. I've been playing it obsessively, but I remember it was delayed months, and then it was delayed a year and a half.
And
Yeah, I was gonna
multiplayer
say-
wasn't even available when it came out.
No, yeah, and
Yeah.
it was delayed that long, and because I had pre-ordered it, and then when I found out it was delayed like a year and a half, I was super upset. And then after playing it for a while, my first thought was, yeah, that made sense.
Yeah.
The delay
it's
made
so
sense.
good, yeah.
This game is too detailed.
And you don't remember that. I mean, not that you don't remember that it was delayed, but you're not upset that it's delayed anymore. But
No.
you're still upset that Cyberpunk was broken.
Yep.
So, like, maybe
There you
one
go.
is better than the other.
You're not
Maybe
wrong.
you should let your people sleep.
It's
and,
okay. It's okay. I go back to The Witcher. I'm like, they made this. They made this.
But it didn't look
Still
like
okay,
that day
still okay.
one
I had no problems day one.
because you played it years later.
No, what? No, I played it day one.
You played Witcher 3 day one, but you didn't play Witcher 1 and 2.
Never.
Wow.
Yep.
But that's a lot of faith in a game that you like. That's dope.
Because I just saw like stuff for it and like the world and all this stuff. Like, wow, that looks awesome. And I just played it day one. Got the little soundtrack CD and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read a lot about that when it came out.
I had no problem. So
That's you.
One
You
of
are a
the
very
few.
lucky
One of the
person.
few.
yep. So it was not perfect. It had like tiny glitches, but nothing crazy.
But nowadays, what's your guys' to end this? What do you guys get your news from the most, or where do you feel like impacts you the most? Where you get your news?
I think there's two types of news. If it's like
Okay.
big industry stuff, then usually I'll find it on my scroll on Twitter. I'm not even actively seeking it anymore because that's just where my algorithm is at this point, I guess. So it just kind of comes to me. But I also word of mouth. You all will text us or send me some DMs or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like
That's what it
that
is for me.
to keep
Yep.
me
Yeah.
in the loop. But when it comes to like the smaller news, the things that aren't just going to get the headlines, podcasts are where I will look, where people have that personal investment to be like, here, I heard this interesting story about this specific thing. That's not going to get a lot of coverage everywhere else. And that helps satiate that part of me that wants that information.
I like it.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, it's word of mouth with this group, but also now just Instagram. Instagram, I find so much of my video game news on there because I'm following any developer that I could think of and any kind of like article writers or news writers for video games that I could think of. So then when something new will come out, I'll click on it and I usually immediately send it to you guys. I'm like, have you guys seen this?
I appreciate. I
I do
appreciate
too.
it.
do.
Same here.
We do.
Very
Yeah.
appreciated.
we all still watch all of the conferences. Well, not all of them. Someone in our group watches each of the conferences.
And you know what? Yeah. Someone will say, guys, the conference happened. I'll be like, okay, let me look up everything that was announced at the conference.
Yeah.
But I feel like we all are the person who's the only one who remembered to wake up on time.
Yep.
One of us always does, and I thank goodness for every one of you.
Yeah.
And then Twitter, a lot of Twitter, because I feel like Twitter's the best place for the indies. Is
For sure. Yeah.
Twitter and probably Instagram.
Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I do
good.
YouTube a lot. There's like
Oh,
I said,
yeah.
there's like a dozen different commentators or news like video game sites that video game YouTubers that I listen to, and they say some of them only do indies, some of them only do like big AAA games, and then some of them do games that I don't play at all, but I really just like their take on whatever they're talking about. I listen to one guy, all he does is talk about WoW. I don't play WoW. I don't understand how to play WoW, but hearing the mechanics, and he's like in it. Like that's his jam, and like hearing how enthused and passionate he is about whatever they just changed, whatever new thing they did, and like him after the last few weeks has been very upset, and like hearing him makes me feel better about being upset about something, or being like, or hearing him be happy makes me like, oh, that's awesome. I don't understand what you're talking about, but like, you're really excited, and like I'm glad that mechanic was made for you to do that. That's great. Enjoy teleporting from wherever you were. It's
I feel like nowadays it really is a combination of news is just given to you now. Like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
all saying, between Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
You don't really have to look for it.
You
Yeah, it's
don't
more
have
of
to
a
look
push
for
than
it.
a
It's a
pull,
push.
yeah.
Exactly. Here, this is what you like because this is what you clicked on before. And then it's also very specific things that you guys want to know about. Like Amanda, you're gonna look up the next spider thing.
Yeah.
Like that, you know, not probably not every single day, but maybe like once a month, you'd be like, hey, what's Spider up to? I haven't seen them recently.
Well, they were now DLC for Greedfall.
Yeah. And I think it's a combination of the both. Whereas before it was just like you have to search everything out
Yeah.
that you possibly could even fathom. And now it's just given to us freely, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I love that.
I would just for the sake of putting this on the internet, I would still encourage people to look for new things, because you get
Yes.
stuck in an algorithm rut and they'll just
Yeah.
give
Oh
you
my
things,
God.
and then you're letting the internet dictate what you like. So
I
don't
get-
do that. Keep looking.
I get so much Assassin's Creed stuff. There's no news.
all
Why is
just
my
Assassin's
feed filled with Assassin's Creed
I
news?
think you know why.
I do know why, but it's a block. It's hard to get over that wall.
I appreciate you, Amanda, because I always find out about the dopest Assassin's Creed stuff
Oh,
about to
oh,
happen from you guys. I'm like, yes, thank you.
No worries there.
He'll always know.
I'll know about it.
I ordered a new Orlog set just to say
So
that
did
out
I.
loud.
Yeah, so did we. So did we.
We were in that chat. We're like, well, I mean, you know, we do already have one. And then I think it was you who said you can never have enough Orlog. And I was like, Brian,
right.
just buy right now.
And I was like, I'm
Just do
already
the
in.
thing.
I'm already in
Just do
the
thing.
checkout screen, Joe. Don't worry about it.
For the internet who might not know, Orlog is a dice game that is normally digitally inside of an Assassin's Creed game that we've all purchased physically so that we can play Orlog anywhere, anytime.
And drink mead.
Mead.
I've never had mead.
Maddie's making mead.
Oh.
You have a shelf of mead behind you.
Yes.
I will try it and probably hate it, but I'll try it.
In 6 months. It takes some time.
All right.
It does.
See you in 6 months.
I only make great mead.
Yeah.
I just pushed up my glasses I'm not wearing.
She did. Like she actually did that.
Actively, she did this.
But she didn't put her hands over her eyes like it was a periscope. So she's okay.
Gosh, get out of this sub, Brian.
Well, fine. I'm gonna get out of it. So that will bring us to the end of this week's episode.
Troy, what did you do?
Coming up for air.
You ended it.
You ended the episode.
That's okay. We're at time.
We're out of time. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But you know what, y'all? We can always find us online.
That's right. Make sure to check us out on Twitter, on Instagram, on Discord, and on Twitch for all of your Taste of Dragons news. That's what we're talking about.
Oh,
We
it's
could be your resource.
Guys, we didn't talk about Discord.
I haven't really gotten news from Discord personally.
I get a lot of
I was about to
indie
say,
news.
actually,
Yeah.
Discord is pretty good
Oh,
nowadays. Yeah, it is.
That's the next frontier.
Another time.
Another
Well,
time. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Yeah. I think it's good. It was good, y'all.
But you can find us at Taste of Dragons at all those sites.
Everywhere.
Keep the conversation going. We'll talk to you soon.
We will.
And if you could do us a favor, and whatever you're listening to this on, if you could give us a rate us or give us a review, give us a little bit of feedback. We'd love to hear from you. It really helps us out if we get any kind of like movement with the algorithms on that. So we appreciate it if you take a moment, hit that like button, sub, whatever it is, man.
Yeah.
Just
Use
do it.
that age-old, tried and true method of information giving, which is word of mouth.
Yeah, tell people about us.
It will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And then you could also, if you've already done that, or any of you haven't, and you guys just want to give us some feedback, you're more than welcome to DM us on Instagram, Twitter, any of those other sites, even on Facebook.
It's true. We're people, not robots.
We're
we
people.
will respond.
Let us know. Are you
Oh,
enjoying
not
the bonus
Brian. He's a robot.
episodes? Yeah, no. Are you guys enjoying the bonus episodes? Are you guys looking forward to season 3? You know, give us some feedback.
Yeah,
We
send
love
us a
it.
DM.
Yeah, or, send a raven.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wherever you feeling.
Or an owl.
An owl?
Do
Yeah, we'll
not,
accept owls.
Do not
we have bird
send me
post.
a bird.
Okay, don't send Lewis a bird, but send Manda or me a bird.
Yes,
we will
I do
appreciate
not
it.
want birds smashing into my windows.
Open your window, man.
Dude, how could you leave the birds outside?
What's wrong with you? You're a
So
monster.
messed up,
They'll
man.
think it's open and they'll just smash right
You're just
into
waiting
it.
for payment, man.
I don't.
You hear the tapping on the window. You open the window. You give them a gold coin. You take the
I
parchment.
don't trust ravens.
That's your problem, man. You really, they're pretty great. The fastest form of travel, they're
They're
wonderful.
very judgmental, so they know that you hate them.
That's probably why they
why.
like tap on your window just for fun.
That's why they want to mess with me.
That's what it is. Well, thank you all for joining us. As always, my name is Brian.
My name is Troy.
Amanda.
I'm Lewis.
And I'm Joe.
And we are
The Taste of Dragons.
Have a great week, y'all. So are we going to start this FIFA tournament through Raven or Owl?
Oh, we can send it to Hassel via Raven. It'll be
Raven.
great. He'll be so happy.
You have
I think ravens would be bad at soccer.
Taste of Dragons Gaming Podcast, a podcast for everyone's taste.